But hey, no disqualification in this match. Back in the ring. What's Ted DiBiase doing? Wait a minute. What's he doing? He went in his tights and put something in that glove. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Alfred Neely raises a hand.
He put something in that glove.
Of Ted DiBiase.
I knew it.
He is the new North American Heavyweight Champion.
I knew it. He planned. I knew it. I told the people.
Let me tell you something. OJYD had little things up his sleeve. He came back as one of my own. That's right. Check it out.
And coming into the ring now, at 150 pounds, from Virginia, S. Lee. And it's
who is Stagger Lee?
Who is Stagger Lee?
I was standing on the corner when I heard my bulldog bark. He was barking at the two men who were gambling in the dark. It was Stagger Lee and Billy.
Well, here comes Stagger Lee.
Stagger Lee. S. Lee is Stagger Lee and DiBiase. He seems really upset, and I know he is. Stagger Lee out there rocking and rolling. If I believe my memory serves me right, JYD referred to one Stagger Lee as a man who used to beat him up and steal his milk money on the bus when he was in school. And there is Stagger Lee. Like I said, JYD had a premonition of what they had in store for him. And therefore, he must have had Stagger Lee in the wings, because Stagger Lee just put something in that mask, and he hit. There's a foreign object in that mask, and that DiBiase is out on the floor with his head ringing, and Stagger Lee had just whipped him, and then just jumped.
As you can see, he came back as a masked superhero known as Stagger Lee. I remember the time. This is before this, when the Freebirds had a feud against Ted DiBiase. And it was a loser would have to lose their hair. Michael Hayes had this cream. It was like a cream that, you know, you put over your hair, you lose your hair. So something happened during the match. JYD got involved, and he just went ahead and put the cream on JYD's eyes. Oh, dude. That started so much commotion, man, because that got JYD blind. He could not see. And then the Freebirds kept on after him, teasing him, kept on messing with him, beating up a blind Junkyard Dog. Till one day, they had a big Superdome extravaganza with JYD versus Michael Hayes in a blindfold match. So then Michael Hayes had to put the blindfold. So when they had that match, JYD came there and whipped his ass. And I said, how the hell you beat that ass up? How the hell you beat him blind? He said, you know what? You can smell a rat. And that's how he got him. I can smell a rat when it's coming. And I got that rat. So check it out, Spec Son. Go ahead and keep on doing your Junkyard Dog stuff. I know you got a lot of information to give all these guys up. But I tell you what, JYD, keep it up. He's always be in our hearts, and he will always be doing the big thump up in the sky. Woo woo!
Okay, everyone, and welcome back to the Secluded Paradyme, number 19, featuring the Junkyard Dog. Big shout out once again to El Santo Loco. Thanks, bro, for that awesome commentary and for contributing to this edition of the Paradyme featuring JYD. It would not have happened if it wasn't for you. Thank you very, very much for all the help that you've given for this video, and also all the insight that you provided for all the peeps and peepettes out there in the Headyverse and also around the entire World Wide Web. Thank you very much, El Santo Loco. And now I'm going to pick it up from here. as many of you do know, and as you can tell from this video and also from your perspectives about JYD, he left Mid-South Wrestling, joined Royal Wrestling Federation Entertainment around 1984, and he never looked back after that. This is where he made the bulk of his money. This is where he made his name to a global audience, a national and global audience at that time, and also basically became a legend in many people's eyes, one of the most popular wrestlers of the 1980s, Junkyard Dog in the WWE. Many of you know he comes to the ring with his chain, with the dog-like attire. Rick Steiner, I think, stole a whole lot of stuff from JYD, and I love JYD, I love Rick Steiner, but, you know, JYD is always the original for me with the dog gimmick. Had the thump as one of his finishers. You know, he could, you know, land a huge elbow across the chest, and back then that actually meant something if you were a big guy, and you can imply some of those moves to your opponent. JYD was great in that regard, and you know, and also the big shoulder breaker. You know, he had that in his arsenal. Shoulder block, kind of like maneuver from the middle rope. I saw him do several times. Kind of like a 3-point stance and then the shoulder. Kind of the same thing that Hacksaw Jim Duggan would do, but JYD would imply a whole heck of a lot more force with his maneuver. But anyway, World Wrestling Federation / Entertainment is where he made his name, and for me, some of my most indelible moments of JYD's career that always stick out with me in the WWE / F back then was his WrestleMania 3 match with King Harley Race. He loses the match, and of course the stipulation of the match was if JYD loses, he had to bow down to the King Harley Race. He loses the match on very controversial fashion, if you ask me, with all the outside interference with Bobby Heenan, and you had Beverly Smooth out there. Race apparently got the clean win, but if you saw the match, you know that really wasn't the case. He gives a little curtsy, bows down to him, and right after he does that, and Harley Race and Bobby Heenan and Moolah all think that, hey, he's a man of his word, JYD takes the steel chair that Harley Race was sitting in, and he just clobbers Race right in the back with the chair. Goes after Heenan. Moolah gets out of there, and the commentary is just phenomenal with Jesse and Gorilla Monsoon doing the commentary, and then JYD puts on the cape, has the crown intact, and he's curtsying to the crowd, which was awesome. And he just cool stuff. That's one of the memories, though. Another one of the memories is when he interfered well, not necessarily interfered. He had an Intercontinental Championship match with Greg Valentine at the original WrestleMania, and then to see Tito Santana interject himself into the match was also a good memory of mine. It was for JYD, and that's kind of a match that's forgotten in terms of WrestleMania because it wasn't on the marquee, but it's something I always remember, with the green Intercontinental title belt that Greg Valentine possessed at the time, right after he dumped Captain Lou Albano for Jimmy Hart. That sticks in my mind. Another, not for Jimmy Hart, excuse me. He ditched him for Luscious Johnny Dowd. That's basically who he ditched him for. He'll eventually become Dream Team and blah blah blah. I won't even bother you with all of the specifics. Just check out that entire period with the WWE, which is just phenomenal. JYD in the Intercontinental title picture in early '85 is something I remember. Him competing in Wrestling Classic, the first pay-per-view in '85, and also something that really sticks with me was his theme song, "Grab Them Cakes," produced by the WWE. Just a phenomenal track in my eyes, and it's something that I will continue to listen to forever. It's one of those songs that is synonymous with Hulk Hogan's the USA Express back in those days. everything that seemed like Jim Johnston did back in those days was just phenomenal. It's on the wrestling album, by the way, which is also another good piece of wrestling history. It's it's really good song that I really advise that every one of you listen. Hey, you never know, that may finish out the show. That song, just keeping you afloat on that. But Grab Them Cakes was produced by Jim Johnston, but it was a kind of a collaboration with JYD and a singer by the name of Vicky Sue Robinson, who performed that song, who helped perform the bulk of that song. But due to copyright claims with her, the WWE and stuff like that, you don't see that, you don't hear that song on several of the DVDs that are released pertaining JYD on them, which I think really sucks, because when you watch WrestleMania 3, it's not the same. When you watch the various other WWE headlined events, it's not the same without that song. But he had Another One Bites the Dust as another one of his songs by Queen. But it's Grab Them Cakes that so many people remember. If you by chance have the WrestleMania VHS collection, their first original set that came out in 1997, I had that. I think about that my third version of it. My brother had one of them. I had one of them. Subsequently, both of our copies got lost, and eventually, I purchased the set, and it contains all the original music, which I love. I can't stand it when they dub people like the Midnight Express and people like Jimmy Garvin and stuff like that on WWE Classics on Demand. So that song is another thing that sticks out of my mind. His use with One Man Gang around 1988 is another thing that sticks out of my mind before he leaves. And that's basically my last impression of JYD in terms of his career in the WWE. It just ended so suddenly and abruptly. It was just really weird. But eventually he would leave the WWE in 1988, and he would go to the NWA again, National Wrestling Alliance, this time to Jim Crockett Promotions. And it's in Jim Crockett, Promotions where JYD kind of becomes a forgotten commodity in wrestling. I think this is where it was really starting the phase of JYD becoming a forgotten figure in wrestling in terms of his popularity. He competed and appeared at Starrcade 88, True Grit, which is another excellent produced pay-per-view in my opinion by the NWA during the turmoil that they had in 1988 with Jim Crockett selling the company to Turner Broadcasting. It was very, very a lot of turmoil, guys coming in and guys coming out. And JYD was one of these guys that came in, but he never got a huge push that someone of his stature, you might say, deserved. He basically was just another mid-card level guy, although popular, but not the same kind of guy with significance he had in the WWE during the bulk of his run there. He had a pretty darn good match teaming with Ivan Koloff to go against the Russian Assassins. Really decent, good match. Good heel versus face, kind of like tandem. The whole dissension with Paul Jones and Ivan Koloff, and JYD was the tag team partner. I think taking the place of Nikita Koloff for that event. Nikita had, he had a lot of personal issues with his wife, who was battling cancer at the time, and JYD stepped in for that, I believe. I think that's how it all played out. I'm not necessarily positive about that, but I think that's how it played out back then. 1989 was like an enigma for him. Back in '89, he was still contracted by the National Wrestling Alliance / Turner Sports, Turner Broadcasting, excuse me, but we rarely saw him on television. It wouldn't be to 1990 when he resurfaced in World Championship Wrestling / NWA at Capital Combat of all places. Re-debuts as Junkyard Dog, and he also, at the time, begins a feud with the Horsemen. He teams with the great Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and he also teams up with the newcomer Eli Gante, and they face the team of the Horsemen which comprised of Barry Windham, Sid Vicious, and at the time the NWA World Television Champion, fresh off his awesome victory against Moody.